All right, Shalom. You reached the He Prayed channel. My name is Isaac Mawath. First and foremost, I want to say call Halayim, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakach Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the group, which starts with the seventh letter. Shalom to the Bakyar, the elect, 144,000. That's 12,000 men out of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The 144,000 being the governing body within the one-third. The rest of the one-third comprises of men, women, and children. Shalom to the Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangular trade. So our people who look like many ethnicities, having many complexions. So this is not a black thing. We're not the black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that died in this truth. Says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our King, King David, who is King Mashah. And as always, it's an honor and privilege to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah for answering my prayers and allowing me to do such. Baba Kashah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah allowed us to be edifying video for at least one member of the elect. This is just a turn on the camera and record and let the spirit flow video. A few videos had queued up. It's from Prepper News. If you know him by Canadian Prepper. Will it survive nuclear war? EMP, a grid down scenario. Which we know all those things are coming. Whether it be nuclear war, whether it be electromagnetic pulse, or it could just be a cyber attack that shut down the power grid in China. Developed a missile called the blackout bomb, right? It says China's new power grid missile, known as the blackout bomb, is a non-lethal weapon designed to disable high-voltage electrical infrastructure without causing physical damage. The missile, which can be launched from both land and sea, carries 90 submunitions that release chemically treated carbon filaments upon impact, short-circuiting transformers and substations. This technology has been compared to similar weapons used by the U.S. in Iraq and Kosovo, and has been speculated to target Taiwan's power grid. The missile's range of 290 kilometers and warhead weight of 490 kilograms make it suitable for precision strikes on military substations and generation facilities. The weapon's ability to disrupt command, control, and communication systems without confrontation marks a shift in China's military strategy towards hybrid warfare. You know, Uh, try to look up this verse real quick. Should have put darkness. Exodus 10, which this is one of the plagues which Yahweh Shai through, or I should say Yahweh through Yahweh Shai placed upon Martazarian and Pharaoh, right? Which it says darkness over the land. This is Exodus chapter 10, verse 21. And Yahweh said unto Moses, which Moses meaning Mashah, which means drawn out. He was drawn out of the house of bondage, which really it means drawn out of the river as you read the story, or the water, or the people, because they were drawn out of the house of bondage through what you was called today the Suez Canal, right? And even to this day, Pharaoh's armies, his chariots, are at the bottom of that sea floor, right? It says, "Stretch out thy hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Martazarium, even darkness which may be felt," right? So basically, which it can't be verified that if they had electricity or not, because really the technology today is primitive to what was in the ancient world, as Esau thinks that in this time man is more uh, intelligent and complex. But when you read the scriptures, it says man have lost their stature. And when you lose your stature, you're also going to lose your mental capacity, right? So they have, you know, in the ancient world, well, matter of fact, let's just go ahead and look it up. Let's see what Copilot says. It says, while there are intriguing theories suggesting that ancient Egyptians may have had some understanding of electricity, mainstream archaeology and Egyptology do not support these claims due to a lack of concrete evidence. But the reason why there ain't no concrete evidence is because you have to always remember they're trying to push Edomite supremacy, man, and having you think that they were the originators. But when you go into the book of Jeremiah, this is Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 16. It says, the portion of Jacob, which that's how you say Jacob in the Hebrew, right, is not like them, right? So the Most High gave his people a different portion than these heathen nations. When you go back to the Old Testament, it talks about how the Heavenly Father, through his Son, set apart all the nations and gave them their portion and gave them their lands. But Jacob has a superior portion, being the nation, or the conglomerate of nations that was chosen to be the direct line of the sons of God or the sons of Yahweh. It says, "For he is the former of all things." And Yasha'Allah is the way you say Israel in the Hebrew, or Abba Yah. That's how you say Hebrew. Yasha'Allah meaning he is prince of the power, Yah Shar Allah. That's the true identity of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous, and also all those scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, whose line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which, unfortunately in these times can only really be determined or discerned by a spiritual man to an extent. But as you read in the scriptures, it says the angels are going to do the separating from the tares and the wheat. It says, "And Yasha'Allah is the rod of his inheritance, Yahweh a host meaning armies." Because when who the world inly calls Jesus Christ returns, he's coming with his armies. It's the armies of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous. It says, "Is his name," right? So let me go back to theories and artifacts. It says Baghdad Battery, often cited as, which Baghdad, if it's talking about Iraq, that would have been ancient Babylon. Modern day Babylon is dealing with America because it's administered through allegory. Because Babel, where you get Babylon, or Babylon is from Babel, which means confusion. There's nothing but confusion here in America as it was in ancient Babylon. And ancient Babylon was taken down not by fire. It was pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, a coup. Yeah, internal strife, political mismanagement, religious tensions, and the military prowess of the Persians. That's where you get the phrase "the writing is on the wall" originates from the book of Daniel in the Bible, specifically from the story of King Belshazzar's feast. In this biblical narrative, a hand appears and writes on the wall in Aramaic, which is interpreted by the prophet Daniel as a warning of impending doom to Belshazzar's kingdom. The phrase has since been used to signify an inevitable outcome or warning about something negative that is about to happen. It wasn't destroyed by fire. But going back to the co-pilot, it says Baghdad battery often cited as evidence of ancient electrical technology. The Baghdad battery consists of a ceramic pot, a copper tube, and an iron rod discovered in Iraq. Some theorists suggest it could have functioned as a galvanic cell, possibly used for electroplating or electric therapy. However, this interpretation is widely debated and not universally accepted by archaeologists. And then you got the Dendidra light, if I'm pronouncing it right. It says this theory arises from carvings in the temple of Hathor at Dendindra, which some interpret as representations of light bulbs. The imagery includes a lotus flower and a snake, which proponents argue resemble modern electrical devices. Critics, however, assert that these depictions are symbolic and relate to ancient Egyptian mythology rather than technology. But nonetheless, they had ways to emit light at night, and the Most High, He extinguished it, right? So, going back to Exodus chapter 10, verse 21, it says, And Yahweh said unto Moses, Stretch out thy hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. So they had 3 days of darkness. I want to see something real quick. So this is for the word thick.
Strong's H653, Aphelah. Aphelah.
It says the KJV translates Strong's H653 in the following manner: darkness 6 times, gloominess 2 times, dark 1 time, thick 1 time. Outline of biblical usage: darkness, gloominess, calamity, wickedness. Strong's definitions: duskiness, figuratively misfortune, concrete concealment, darkness, gloominess, thick. And then it has right here saying of supernatural darkness in Egypt. You know? So it's not just going to be that the lights go out. There's going to be a lot of wickedness. There's going to be a lot of calamity. And why is that? Because people are going to be losing their mind. They're going to be people are afraid at night, man. That's why you see the homeless sleep in the daytime. Because you got to be more so aware at night. That's even when you look at the news archives, especially dealing with Southern California, you read about how there's a lot of homeless attacks and transients getting murdered while they sleep, getting beat in the head with hammers. So just like you watch these movies like let me see if I could just do that. series. Yeah, I think it's this one right here. Let me see. But I mean, you see movies like this all the time. Movies dealing with blackouts, where you know people are desperate, loss of power, no running water, no food, uh, lack of medical resources. Then that animal instinct of survival starts to kick in, and people lose their minds, man. And that's the reason why this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is so important, because that's what's going to stabilize you in these times, in these turbulent times, right? Uh, verse 23, it says they saw not one another. So this plague that the Most High put Yahweh Bashim Yahushua placed on Maltazarian, it was so strong that they could not see each other, right? It says neither rose any from his place for 3 days. No one left the house. That's how what did it say? What did that nigga say? He said scary, spooky, crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was, man. People didn't want to risk it. It says, but all the children of Yasharallah had light in their dwellings. So just imagine one side of town was in a blackout, and it was so scary. It was so scary, that they didn't even want to leave the house. And then the other side, they had all light, man. And that's gonna be Yahweh Bashim Yahushua also showing his power too in these times. Because you already know the scripture I'm gonna get to, the precept. Um, and this, I'm just flowing with the spirit. It ain't even no rehearsal. It's the second Ezra chapter 15, verse 10. It says, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, which you always got to remember. Egypt is an allegory for the house of bondage. And this particular verse is talking about America. It says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before. Now he's referring to Martazarian, which was the ex house of bondage. And the reason why is because both had all the tribes under servitude, man. It says, and will destroy all the land, which that land, as you can see, is singular, meaning the entirety of America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction. It says thereof, right? Um, it's cool. So what they're talking about on this particular video, they're not talking about an actual blackout or nuclear war or grid down scenario. They're talking about what would happen to your Bitcoin in those three scenarios. That's what this video is about, which, you know, your Bitcoin ain't gonna be worth nothing, man. You got individuals like Christopher Green with Project Island spewing his madness about Bitcoin, and all these other people, which if you were in it, should have got it when it went back all the way down to what, 15,000, 10,000, and then it shot up to 100. But ultimately, um, ultimately, all those things are going to crash because they're going to deal with the CBDC. It's going to be a blockchain, but it's not going to be off Bitcoin. It's going to be a new coin that is going to be administered through a government entity, so it could be regulated, and it's going to be regulated and distributed through their IOB program to put you on their web or Internet of Things, right? Which, in order to plug you in, you have to be connected through near field frequency. Basically, you become a smart human, especially if you have the brain hip. Um, Man, I'm trying to think. It's in the back of my mind. Um, yeah, it's in Zephaniah. Salakia. This is Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 15. It says, "That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress." Hold on. I'll start at verse 11. It says, this is Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 11. It says, "How," which I believe how goes back into woe, but I'm going to look it up. Yeah, basically, to howl, well, make a howling with the wailing tone, or yell with the boisterous one, make to howl, be howling.
No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. I'm in here today with my man Remo, and we're sitting down to have a conversation with Alabama's very.
I'm trying to see what in the movie Batman, where it shows them in Wall Street. But anyway, part of that howling is dealing with the reflection of the market and the volatility of it, and the reaction of doom and gloom. It says how ye inhabitants of Mactish is Wall Street. Mactish in the ancient world was known as a trading hub. It says for all the merchant people are cut down because basically those stocks are dealing with people. It says all they that bear silver are cut off because it's going to go into a digital uh, currency, a digital system, a technocratic rule. It says, and it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem, that's how you say Jerusalem in the Hebrew, with candles, and punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart or their mind that Yahweh will not do good, neither will he do evil. And we'll see what basically people that are comfortable in this system, man. So co-pilot answer, it says the phrase settled on the lees refers to the lees, dregs, or sediments that settle at the bottom of a vessel during wine making. Metaphorically, it indicates a state of being at ease, undisturbed, or complacent in one's habits or lifestyle. And you see that with our people, man. It says it can also imply a sense of stagnation or being hardened in one's ways, often used in a biblical context to describe a lack of growth or change. You know, let me see. There's a scripture that says something about how Jake loves to have it so, but I forget. I haven't. Probably have to look it up later. But going back to Zephaniah, and these people think pretty much Yahweh Shem Shai ain't gonna do anything. He ain't gonna do neither good or evil. It says, therefore, let me see. This is NKJV. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with lamps and punish the men who are settled in complacency, who say in their heart, Yahweh will not do good, nor will he do evil. NLT, I will search with lanterns in Jerusalem's darkest corners to punish those who sit complacent in their sins. They think Yahweh will do nothing to them, either good or bad, which aligns with Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Verse 13, it says, therefore their goods shall become a booty, which what's going to happen is your people are going to get all your shit confiscated. So to show you that it's possible, it says military confiscation. A property can occur under various circumstances, including legal framework. The legal position regarding enemy property during wartime has been established, allowing for confiscation by Congress through further action. Probable cause, property can be seized if there is a probable cause to believe it is an unlawful weapon, contraband, or evidence of a crime. Historical context throughout history, wars have led to the confiscation of civilian property, often with significant societal repercussions. Current practices, in some cases, laws are being considered that allow for the confiscation of property from individuals deemed to spread false information about military actions. Military necessity, the destruction or seizure of property may also occur when military necessity requires it. These points illustrate the complexities and legal considerations surrounding property confiscation by military forces. So let's go to start at verse 70. I'll start at verse 68. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 68. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. And quick precept. Now, this was talking about 2,000 years ago, but you could have also equated to for today, because history repeats itself. This is Luke chapter 21, verse 20. Now, this is what Yahweh Shai warned about, and Luke gave his side of that testimony. And he warned us this was going to happen during the time of 68, 70 AD. And this was something that just didn't happen. It was it was a process, just as it is in these days. This is Luke chapter 21, verse 20. It says, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies. Now, these armies was dealing with the Roman armies. Then know that the desolation, destruction thereof is nigh, is near. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Right. So the day or the days of vengeance is relapsing. As you know, we're in a loop, and we're in the final loop before the kingdom of heaven. Right. So this is going to be the last days of vengeance that, the Israelites are going to experience. Oh, okay. It says, as of 2025, U.S. Marines have been deployed to Los Angeles. Approximately 400 Marines arrived to replace 700 already present with the new Marines from the 3rd Battalion, 7th Marine Regiment. Their mission includes protecting federal functions and personnel amid protests related to immigration enforcement. So they're already conditioning you to see the presence of military, just as they did in the Third Reich, which was in Nazi Germany. Uh, it says, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. Let me see. I want to see what Copilot said. It says, this is what Copilot says. It says, a phrase and feed you being idle with things offered unto idols from 2nd Ezra 16:68 is part of a prophetic warning about persecution and spiritual compromise during a time of great tribulation. And what do you think that spiritual compromise is, man? Contextual meaning, this verse is embedded in a passage describing the rise of a hostile multitude against those who fear and follow the Lord. Here's what it conveys: feeding you being idle. This suggests that people will be forcibly sustained or pacified while in a state of passivity or captivity, which, deals with those concentration camps. As the term idle implies they are not actively resisting or working, possibly imprisoned or subdued. With things offered onto idols, this refers to being given food or sustenance that has been sacrificed to false gods, a act considered spiritually defiling in biblical traditions. And that sihib uh, is how you're going to get your sustenance, man. You won't be able to buy or sell, right? It says broader implications from the chapter. 2nd Ezra 16 paints a vivid picture of apocalyptic upheaval, plagues, famine, war. But the main point was what I wanted to bring out. It says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision. Let's look up that word, derision. Which derision, ridicule, mockery, subjection to ridicule or mockery. a laughing to scorn mockery, because they're going to be destroyed, right? If you consent onto the beast, you're going to get that, you get the C hip, you're going to get those cancers. If you was in this truth, you're going to be mocked because you got weak and you didn't pass the test. It says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden under foot. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Let me see. It says the phrase for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord is part of a prophetic vision describing intense persecution of the faithful during a time of divine judgment and societal collapse. Surrounding context. 68, a great multitude rises in wrath, capturing and coercing believers, even feeding them offerings made to idols. 69, those who consent to this idolatry are mocked and trampled. Verse 70, the insurrection spreads everywhere, targeting those who fear the Most High. 71 through 72, the attackers behave like madmen, destroying homes and possessions of the faithful. Verse 73, through this fiery trial, the true followers of the Most High will be revealed and refined like gold. Meaning of great insurrection in every place and in the next cities. This implies widespread, almost universal unrest, not isolated incidents, but a coordinated, sweeping persecution. Upon those that fear the Lord, the faithful are singled out as targets, not for political or economic reasons, but specifically for their devotion to God. This insurrection is not just civil unrest, it is a spiritual assault, a violent backlash against righteousness and divine allegiance. Theological implications testing the faith. The passage suggests that persecution will serve as a refining fire, revealing the true believers. Call to endurance despite the chaos, verses 74 to 75 offer reassurance. God will deliver his beloved and guide them through the tribulation. Warning against compromise. Those who yield to idolatry or abandon their faith will face shame and destruction. Which aligns with 10 and 12. Nope. This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. It says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, which tried meaning tested, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days, which in biblical numerology, 10 represents completion, a complete time, whatever is prescribed unto you by the Heavenly Father from, predestination, foundation of the earth. It says, be thou faithful unto death. So you have to be faithful unto death, a believer unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. He's going to give you a crown of life. Right? Verse 71, it says, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen. So in that moment, in those times, that's when you're going to know who are his chosen, man. Because it's going to be specific. It's going to be, real specific. It says, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved, saith Yahweh Shai. Behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. So Yahweh Shai is going to deliver us from these troubles. Going back to, or finishing up Zephaniah chapter 1, starting at 13, it says, therefore their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them, because they're going to be destroyed in nuclear destruction. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. Also is going to be destroyed through nuclear destruction. It says, the great day of Yahweh is near. It is near and hasteneth greatly. Even the voice, the trepidation, right? Which we can look up that word real quick at my online. Trepidation, tremulous, agitation, confuse, hurry, or alarm. Agitation, alarm, trembling, to tremble, hurry, alarm, scared. Right? It says the great day of Yahweh is near. It is near and hasteneth greatly. Even the voice of the day of Yahweh, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly, man. Because there's going to be a lot of death, man. It says that day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. Because of all the bombs going off, nuclear winter. It says a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities. Because those sirens from incoming missiles are going to be going off, and those missile defense systems are going to be shooting, trying to intercept those missiles. It says, and against the high towers. The high towers represents these superpowers. It says, and I will bring distress upon men, and they shall walk like blind men in confusion, because they have sinned against Yahweh, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Their dead bodies are going to litter the earth. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of Yahweh's wrath. You're not going to be able to buy your way out of destruction. But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. Right, because this land is talking about America, and America is prophesied to be destroyed within the hour. But I'm going to go ahead and end it off right here. I appreciate whoever was edified. I hope at least one of you, brothers of the elect, was edified. And till next time, I'm going to say shalom.